Hi, my name is Brigitte Williams, and I'm a personal trainer. I work out of Floyd Fitness Gym in Floyd, Virginia. Right now, the gym is closed to the public, and so what I wanted to do is put together a workout video for you that you could do at home. So what we're doing today is I'm going to introduce you to a series of exercises, and then you can do them at your own pace, and I will introduce progressions and regressions. If you're not able to do one exercise, you can do the easier version, and if the basic exercise is too easy, I'll show you a harder version. So we're going to start with a squat, and the basic squat is just going down. So if you're not able to do that yet, you can do a regression, and that would be a sit to stand. And if the body weight is too easy, you can add weight. The next exercise is called a dip, and it's great for your triceps. You'll start on the bench, scoot forward, and come down. Arms will be at about a 90-degree angle. If that's easy, you can straighten your legs and do the same thing. So the next exercise we're going to do is called a deadlift. A deadlift variation is a hip hinge exercise. So it's an exercise that we do a lot during everyday life. A lot of times we'll bend down to pick things up, and we want to do it in a safe way. So what I like to do is grab a couple weights and then come down, not touching the ground all the way. If you want to, you can have something raised and touch it at the side. But you want to think about your hips going back rather than your knees coming forward. So your hips go back and your knees do come along for the ride. So that's a deadlift variation. You can also do a straight leg variation, and that looks like this. Again, I'm thinking about my hips going back first, keeping my chest up and looking forward. And that's a deadlift. So the next couple exercises we're going to do is a push-pull. So when we put together an entire body workout, we want to think about hitting some specifics. So you want to have a deadlift variation, you want to have a squat variation, you want to have some kind of a horizontal push and some kind of a horizontal pull, and then we'll add some isolation exercises in with that. So we're going to do a horizontal pull, which is hard to do at home. So if you think about some of our horizontal pulls, if we're at a machine in the gym or we're on rings, I don't have that capacity to do that. So what I need to do is move my body in space so that I'm pulling this way. So then we can just use a weight, starting with the weight with your arms straight. Try not to sag your shoulder. So you want your shoulder to be stable. And then you're just gonna pull up. There's a slight rotation at the top that goes along with your natural shoulder movement. And that's your pull. For a push, we can always do push-ups. So for people that have a hard time doing push-ups, we can raise the surface. So if you can't do a push-up on the floor or the ground, you can start on a raised surface, like a bench. And if that's too difficult, raise your surface and you can go on the edge of a table. If that's too hard, you can even do a push-up on a wall. So just do it at your ability. You can always add reps and push yourself next time. If you did it on the wall, try it on the table. And then you can keep progressing. So the next thing we're going to do is a basic beginner core exercise. I start a lot of my clients with this exercise, especially if they haven't done a lot of sit-ups or core workouts in the past. So you just want to sit on a stable surface, heels on the floor, lean back just a little bit, and then bring your knees up as high as you can, and then back just short of touching the ground or floor. You can do a variation, one at a time. And if you want to go a little bit more advanced, you can do circles. I usually do 3 to 6 per side and then rotate to the opposite side. So we want to do some unilateral movements, especially with our legs. Unilateral just means one side at a time. So we want to think about a lunge variation. For a lot of people, their knees are a limiting factor and they're not able to do a lunge. If you are able to do a lunge, you can start with a body weight lunge. You can always add weight to one or both sides of your hands to increase the difficulty. For those who can't do a lunge, you can do a step up. This is a fairly high step, but you can always start really low on a sturdy book or a step. So you would just do one at a time. And with all the exercises, you want to think about a nice controlled descent. So anytime you do an exercise, you want to come up and control the descent rather than dropping. So the descent is where you get a lot of your strength, and the ascent is where you got a lot of your power. So you don't want to cheat yourself, you want to do both. So the next thing we're going to do is a little bit of isolation movement. As a general rule, I like to put in the more compound, more difficult movements at the beginning. Often they're using your legs, and they're just a little more taxing. So we want to do those at the beginning when you're fresh. So at the end, I'll add in smaller, more isolation movement, upper body. So we're going to do biceps, a triceps, and a shoulder exercise. So you want to grab a weight that's comfortable for you. If you don't have weights at home, you can always use a can. If the weights are too challenging, you can always do it with just your body. Just moving is great. So a bicep curl is pretty straightforward. Just want to curl the weight up, little squeeze at the top, nice and controlled at the way down. And then for your triceps, what I like to do is a kick back. So you want to support yourself. We're going to start like we're doing a one-arm row, but your start point is here. And then from here, we're going to straighten the arm. This one is a little more challenging and takes a little more technique. You want to make sure that you're not swinging or using momentum. Also watch the wrist. I see a lot of folks doing this. You want to make sure your wrist is neutral so that you keep your wrist nice and healthy. So that's a kick back. And then the third one is an overhead press. A lot of folks have shoulder issues. If you have any shoulder problems, you don't need to do an overhead. It's just a little extra. So for this one, you want to start with the weights right by your ears, like you're talking on the phone. You want to have your palms forward, and as you come up, the palms go in. So palms forward, palms in. Try to make sure that you're going straight up so that your arm is right by your ear rather than forward. And then again, when you're coming up to the side, straight rather than out. So the next thing we're going to do is the exercise that everyone hates the most, and it's called a burpee. Most people cannot do a burpee. A burpee, if you're not familiar with it, looks like this. So a lot of people cannot do a burpee. A burpee is great for core. So for a lot of my clients who aren't able to do a burpee, I still want to give them the benefit of the exercise. So we're going to bring the exercise to you. The one way to do that, similar to a push-up, is to raise the floor. So you can do a burpee on a raised surface. So it would look like this. You want to jump back, jump forward, arms overhead, or you can do a jump. So again, down, jump into your plank. Make sure you're not sinking or piking. You want to have a good sturdy plank. You want to be able to feel your core working right here. Jump forward and then arms overhead. If that jumping is too challenging, we can do a step back. So again, here, you're still getting that core activation and you're still getting a lot of upper body. And then arms overhead. Down, step into your plank, step forward, arms overhead. And that's your burpee. So So one reason we want to exercise is to be more capable in everyday life. So as an example, I have a client and she's in her mid-70s now. She's been working with me for a while, and she does the burpee variations. And the reason we do that is to keep those really quick reflex kind of movements on track. And she was stepping over a curb, a parking curb the other day. And she caught her foot on the curb, and she was able to catch herself very quickly and to keep from falling. And she attributed that to her exercise, specifically working on those quick muscle movements like the jumping. So we want to make sure that we include some of that fast twitch muscle activation in a workout. So one of the reasons we want to include a squat variation in our workout is, at the most basic level, we want to be able to get up off the toilet into our older years. We just want to maintain the amount of independence that we're able to do. At one point I had a client and he had a really hard time getting up off the toilet. To assist him, he pulled on his sink, and at one point he pulled the sink out of the wall. So we want to make sure that we save on plumbing and keep you healthy. So keep doing your squats. Thanks so much for watching. I hope those exercises were very helpful for you. If you have any other questions at all, please feel free to reach out to me. My email is mommylifts@gmail.com. That's mommylifts@gmail.com. Or you can message me through Facebook, Brigitte Williams. I look forward to getting back in the gym and seeing all my friends sooner rather than later. Until then, be well.